Hey, what's going on, guys? How is everybody doing? So before we get into today's video, I just want to give a quick thank you to everybody who tuned in and watched my Make Farming Easier video. That video has performed far better than I ever thought it could. You know, my videos have been getting consistently like, 50, 100, maybe a couple hundred views. I went to bed and then like the next day it was up to like 7,000. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. The next day it climbed up to like 20,000. When I wrote the like the bullet points for this upcoming video last night, it was at like 60,000. Now we're almost at like 70,000 views. It's absolutely blowing up, and a lot of that has to do with YouTube's algorithm. But I mean, you guys have been killing it. You've been killing the like game. Your comments have been super positive. I've been loving everything. Our subscriber count is growing way faster than it has been. So for all you guys who are new here, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been quite frankly super humbling. There's been a lot of positivity, and you guys have just been absolutely killing the viewership game. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So the topic of this video, there's been some people asking me, once you get up to higher world levels, like once you get to 4, 5, even 6, the content, it gets a lot more difficult. You start getting to a point where you're like, oh, this is what the game was gonna be like. And it can be kind of discouraging because you need to do these domains, you need to do these bosses, and if they're hard to beat, you can't get the ascension materials you need to gear up your characters. And if you can't beat them, you don't have the gear to upgrade, and it's like a never-ending cycle. And I get it, it can be really discouraging. So the question is, what do you do in this scenario where you just, maybe you spread your resources too thin, maybe you were trying out a bunch of different characters, and rather than leveling up like just your 4 mains, you spread it out between all your characters. Or maybe you dumped all your materials into a character that you just ended up not liking very much, and you feel like you wasted all those experience tickets, all that mora, and you just don't know how to continue on. Well, this video, we're going to be talking about how to go about fixing that, how to get it so that you can complete all the content, and you don't feel like you have to walk away from the game just because the content feels like it's outscaling you. You should be outscaling the content. So we're going to be going over all that in this video, so stay tuned and let's jump right into the video. So one thing to keep in mind when you think that you screwed up your account, or you didn't optimize it, the first thing you need to do is stay positive. You didn't screw up your account, you just kind of delayed your progress, right? Because you're not racing against anybody but yourself. This is not a well, there's co-op aspects, but you're not competing against anybody. There's no PvP. This game is all about you and the progression at your own pace. So keep that in mind. Like, don't be judging yourself and your progression against other people, either content creators are watching online, your friends, whoever it may be. Don't judge your progression against them. Judge it against you, and also keep in mind, if there was a time to ever screw up your account or delay it, as we'll say here, this is the perfect time to do that, because as people have been saying, there's not a lot of content in this game right now. So it's not like there's any content that you're rushing to get to. It's not like there's raids that you're missing out with your friends because your account has been delayed. The end game right now is farming. So you're in the perfect time to have this problem. So keep that in mind. If there was ever a time to have this problem, this is the time. Also, if you were one of those people who spread their resources too thin, don't feel like you threw away your resources. Every unit in this game is worth investing in, and maybe you feel like you threw away your resources on a unit you don't like. Well, those units may become useful in the future, and no unit in this game is worthless. So no matter who you threw materials into, just think of it as delayed gratification, and you're not getting it right up front. Now, real quickly, before we get into kind of the steps to go about fixing your account, just one thing I want to address, that there are probably going to be a lot of assumptions made on my end when making this video, because let's face it, everybody's situations are going to be different, and I can't give you an answer for everybody's individual situation. So I'm going to keep things kind of general, and I'm going to leave it kind of up to you guys to take the tools I give you and apply them to your own situation. So, you know, I can only provide you the tools. I can't go and build the house for you. So I'm going to keep everything broad here, and then, you know, leave it in your own court to go ahead and apply the tools that best work for you in your situation. So step 1 is going to be the easiest for you to complete, and that is just take a breath. Just take time. Don't stress out. As I said before, you are not comparing, or you shouldn't be comparing your progression to anybody else's. It's at your own pace. I know it can be tempting to say that, oh, your progression is off because you see someone getting 100k crit with Diluc and Chongyun, and, you know, it's, why can't I get that? Well, you know, maybe they just have more experience than you in these type of games. Maybe they had, you know, information beforehand. You know, they were looking at all the closed beta tests and they realized what kits people were going to have. You know, there's a bunch of different factors, and the people who are doing it on YouTube are doing it, you know, to show to you guys. So they're probably specifically looking for these builds. That's not necessarily what you have to do. So as I've said a couple times already, progression is your own. You don't need to base it off anyone else's. So just take a breather, take a chillaxing pill. We'll get there. So now that you've done that, the question is actually, how do you unstuck your account? So this is where kind of the first big assumption comes in, which is what is kind of your overall problem. I'm gonna guess that there are going to be two camps that people are in. Either you don't know who your main team wants to be, so you've spread your resources out pretty thin, trying to upgrade everyone, trying to get a feel for what heroes you want to use, and you don't necessarily have a main team leveled up yet. Or you're not in that category where you do have a main team, but you've just had some trouble either getting the damage you need, or your team just dies far too quickly. So these are kind of the two routes we're going to be going down. Of course, there'll be time descriptions down in the comment section, as well as the time bar here. So if you fit into one of these categories, it may behoove you to go ahead and click that to go to the camp that best suits you. So first up, let's talk about if you don't have a main team. So if the problem you're having is you've spread your resources too thin and you don't really have a solid team yet, or you've just had trouble leveling up your team, this is going to be where we talk about that. So first of all, let's say you need a team. How do we go about building a team? Well, if you want super in-depth detail on how to build a team, I'll link my video up there that you can check out how to go about building a team. But super basic, we're basically going to want our main DPS unit, our supporting DPS unit, and then two other supports, usually like an elemental support and a healer. So in this just super quick example, we're going to go with Razor as our main DPS, just because he packs a bunch of damage, and he's basically my main DPS unit. He's basically, your main DPS unit is the one that's going to be providing most of the damage. It's going to be the one that you're using most often. So if you're having trouble picking out, just pick out, you know, your favorite hero. That's the easiest way to go about it. Any unit in this game can be a main DPS. It's just going to change a little bit how you build them. Next up, we want our secondary DPS. This is going to be, you know, the unit who provides second most damage overall. We'll provide either some elemental resonances, we'll provide a little bit of extra like overall damage bonuses, stuff like that. So in our case, you know, we're going to be using Fischl. I know everyone was getting on my case. I thought I was being the smart one saying Fischl. Nope, it's Fischl. I literally asked my friend who speaks German, as I assume she's German. Yeah, I got that one wrong, guys. I get it. It's Fischl. So we're going to be using Fischl because we get that electro resonance, which helps out Razor because it helps him get to his burst faster. Also, she's a crazy good support unit. Then if we want a little bit more support, we're going to take, like, let's say Kaya, because now we have a superconduct reaction, which will lower our enemy's physical resistance, helping Razor do a little bit more damage. And then finally, we want a healer. So we would go ahead and add Barbara. This is kind of like a free-to-play-ish team, but Barbara, very good with heals. We also get the superconduct reaction. We also get some freezes, which then Razor can shatter. So we have some very good elements here. So now that you've gone and picked out your team will probably be under level just because you've spread your resources out too thin. So how do we want to go about doing that? So basically, the most effective way I've seen to go about leveling, which I've used myself, is to use like the ABCC or 0, -10, -20, -20 method. So basically all that means your main DPS is going to be the highest level on your team. whatever level he can get to, make sure he or she, make sure that they are that level. So in our case, you know, I can only get to 80 right now, so my Razor would be level 80. In this example case, if I were, you know, kind of starting from scratch, getting my levels up, I would only max Fischl out at level 70. I would not get her all the way up to level 80 because she's not going to be on the field all the time. And then lastly, our supports, Kaya and Barbara, I would only have them level 60. You're going to save a lot of resources not trying to get everyone up to that max level 80. So that's the method I would use. Start there, get your main DPS's level up first. Now, once you've done all that, another thing to keep in mind is that when you are advancing world level, don't feel like you have to level up your characters to the max level every single time. Quite often, it's actually better to just ascend your characters and keep them right at that base levels. So for example, let's take a look at this chart. Let's say you're at Ascension level 4, level 70. You got an HP, a base HP, this is for Razor here, of 9200, 180. Then you level him, or you ascend him from that Ascension 4 level 70 to Ascension 5 level 70. You're getting 500 HP, 11 base attack, and you're also getting a physical damage bonus. Now, if you were to level him up from 70 to 80, sure, you're getting a big HP bump, you're getting a big attack bump, you're not getting a physical damage bump, but if you think about all the materials it takes to either, like if we look at Ascension right here, you're looking at 100,000 Mora plus your crystal chunks, all this. But if you compare that to what it would take to actually level him up, this is just a splash in the bucket. This is nothing. So keep that in mind. If you're having trouble leveling up all your characters, if you're trying to catch up, don't feel like you need to level them up all the way to max level. Often it's just easier and cheaper and more effective to just go ahead and ascend them and leave them where they are. So next, if you've already gone through all the steps that we just talked about, or maybe you just went through those steps and now you're at this point, maybe you're either dying too fast or maybe you're not doing enough damage. How do we go about improving that? So we're going to assume that you already have your team built up to level. How can we get the most damage possible and how can we fix things? Well, first of all of our attack percentages, this attack percent here on your artifacts, it's all going to be based off your base attack. So it's not like it's going to stack. Like if I were to add a 6th piece and add a percent attack piece, it's not going to affect this number. The number it's going to affect is this number right here. This is your base attack. So in order to get the most benefit from our percentage attack pieces, because we're going to have more percentage attack than flat attack, we need to figure out how to get this number as high as possible. So this number will increase as you level up your hero as well as ascending them. That's one way we can do it. We can also go and upgrade their weapons. Now, their weapons base attack is going to be added on to your character's base attack. So this number is a combination of your character's flat attack plus the weapon base attack. So the higher level your weapon gets, the higher this will be, the higher your base attack will be. And then, as we know, with percentages get higher as your base number gets higher. So we want to get this base attack as high as we can, so that way our percentages, our attack percentages are working for us, and you'll see more benefits from your attack percentages. Now, if we've gone and done all that, how do we get the most bang for our buck out of our artifacts? Well, I actually did do a whole video about this, so I will put that up there as well. But the big thing is your feather is going to be the first artifact that you do want to max out. The reason is that you're getting a flat attack bonus. Now, I know for me, when I was first building, I was like, flat attack, I don't want that. I want percentages. I'm going to get more out of like a 46% piece. But the thing is that you have to take into account what you're affecting, right? So like for right now, because my base attack is 739, if I had, like, let's say that cup I was looking at earlier with a 46% piece, let's round it up to 50%. We're looking at like 370 attack, which is higher than my feather. But let's say my attack wasn't this high because, you know, I have a wolf's gravestone on, he's max level. Let's say my attack was around, I don't know, 600, 550, let's say, because that's where I'm assuming you might be if you're kind of like struggling in there. That 50% attack is now only going to give you like 300, maybe 250, depending where you are. So you're going to get a lot more benefit out of this number if your base attack is lower. Once you start getting that base attack up, percentages will be better. But since we're just kind of fixing your account, this will be the artifact that you're going to want to focus on to get the most bang for your buck. Now, another big assumption that I'm going to make here is that you haven't started farming artifacts. You should really only start farming artifacts once you hit adventure rank 40, and that's because that's when you start getting consistent 5-star artifacts. Before that point, you know, farming 4-star artifacts is really just kind of a waste of time. You should be working on building your characters up. And then as you get 4-star artifacts, build those up and put them on your characters. But building specific 4-star sets is really going to be a waste of time, because once you start getting to adventure rank 40 and you start getting 5-star gear, it's going to significantly outclass your 4-star gear, and it's just going to go away. So it's really not worth your time to farm that gear. So also, don't be afraid to level up your 4-star gear. If you've been hearing a lot of people like myself saying don't farm 4-star gear until level 40, that doesn't mean that you should fear leveling it up. If you feel like you're wasting a bunch of material putting into artifacts that you're just going to upgrade, 90% of the experience from whatever artifact you feed into another will be transferred into the new artifact. So once you get that crazy good 5-star piece of gear, you can go ahead and siphon in that 4-star piece of gear. And you don't really have to worry about it too much. And, you know, upgrading your artifacts doesn't really cost a lot of more overall, so don't feel like you're wasting too much there. So remember, once we get up to adventure rank 40, that's when you can start farming your actual specific piece of gear. But up till then, don't be afraid to build out your artifacts, your 4-star artifacts. Just make sure that they are built out, and then you'll be dealing a lot more damage. Next up, another way that we can get a lot more damage out of our kits is our talents. Now, the downside to these is that these can get very expensive, especially, I mean, I wouldn't even say a high talent level, and 120,000 more to level this up once. That's a lot of mora. Now, obviously, when you're at lower levels, you're talking like, you know, 15, 30,000, 45,000, which is still a lot, especially if you're like scrapping it together, trying to rebuild your team. It can be a lot. You do get a lot of benefits from these, but I would say, you know, kind of take it easy on these. If you're around level 3 or level 4, you're doing just fine. There's really no rush to level these, even though they are going to be universal. As long as you're using that hero, they're never going to like degrade, or you're going to need to change them or anything like that. But they do get very expensive, and compared to the other changes that we could be doing, I just don't see the benefit in spending that much mora to level these up. You know, 37,000, that's quite a bit, especially, like I said, if you're kind of scrapping things together, trying to get the most out of your mora. So you will get some benefits from these, but if I were to say overall, I would say, you know, kind of pump the brakes on these a little bit. If you want to do one every once in a while, cool, but as we're rebuilding, maybe don't keep these as a priority. And the last point here is kind of a reiteration of what I said at the beginning of this video, is that don't feel like you need to rush this process. I know it can seem really daunting, especially if you're a free-to-play player who's not doing max refreshes. It is going to seem like a bit of a grind, and I won't lie to you, it will be. If you've been a player of games like these, I know it's not an MMO, but for example, World of Warcraft. I have a friend who's been playing World of Warcraft since they released, and let me tell you, he is still grinding to this day. So, you know, games like this, they're no stranger to grinds. Don't feel like this is going to be an overnight thing. This is no God of War or The Last of Us or Spider-Man. It's not a AAA game that you're intended to finish in a weekend. This is a month after month after month grind. You will get there. It's just going to be a matter of time. And remember, you are not competing against anyone else. There is no first place prize at the end for completing this in under 6 hours. You know, this is not a speed run game. So don't worry about it. Remember, there's not a lot of content in the game right now. Really, what the content is farming. So you're doing exactly what the game is intending for you to do. So you are right on your A game in that sense, I suppose. And just remember, guys, if you're stressing out too much about this game, you're going about it all wrong. It's a video game. It's supposed to be something where you come home, or maybe you're at home because we're all working from home now. But if you're stressing about a video game, you're doing it wrong. This is supposed to be a release from your stress day to day. So don't worry about it too much. Just take it at your own pace. Have a good time. Kill some mobs. Level up your waifus or husbandos or whoever it may be, and just enjoy the process. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy. I know there was a lot of information here. Hopefully it helped out some of you. Hopefully you don't feel that brick wall. And I know some people have said they're thinking about quitting the game because they're at a point where it's just too difficult to complete. Don't feel like you have to quit the game for this. It may just take some time. but you'll get there. I do want to thank everyone again for the continued support, and the performance on that farming video was absolutely insane. So happy to have all you guys here. If you want to see some more content from me, you can head over to my Twitch page, which is now twitch.tv/xjazze. We did a little bit of rebranding, wasn't super happy with the name, so we're going to be Jazz E from now on. You can head over there, or if you want to subscribe right here on YouTube, you can do that, plus hitting the notification bell. That way you never miss a video. But guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.